Welcome to Brandstorm, the podcast that talks to the people behind America's brands. I'm Dan Trzynski, president of Platypus Advertising and Design.
And I'm Nancy Christopher, PR director at Platypus. When the craft brew industry took off, it wasn't too surprising to see a new industry emerge, the craft brew pub. But Dan, don't you wish it was your idea?
I know.
I do. Anyway.
I say that a lot.
Here to talk about the success of Growler USA is John Kutac, its president. Thanks for joining us, John.
Dan and Nancy, good to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
But, Growler USA, that is such a great name, but it sounds like there's a story behind it. What is it?
So I thought we were doing video, so I brought an actual 1800s growler with me. I will send a picture in, and if you could post it in, you can actually see it. So in the late 1800s, people were taking beer and ale home from their local pubs, and they were bringing them in these small metal tins with a lid to them. But as they were walking home, as the story goes, the CO2s would start to gurgle out of the top of the lid, and it sounded like the pail was growling to some degree. So they became a growler. And obviously now they're made in every shape and size and are very high tech, everything up through ceramics and stainless steels and glass and you name it.
Do you actually give people growlers that they can take home?
So it depends on where you are. Most states do allow for to-go beer sales. Mm-hmm. In Colorado, you have to be able to brew on site in order to do that. Since we only offer the craft beer selection and don't brew it, we're not allowed to, unfortunately.
Okay.
Tell us about the Growler USA concept. True to the brew, what does that mean?
So True to the Brew is one of our trademarks, and it really stems from the idea of we wanted to take 100 taps of craft beer, U.S. made, and deliver them to the consumer in the same way that would occur if you were actually at a brewery. So our equipment, the delivery systems, the pressures, everything that we do is spec'd from the brewery itself and it would look just like it would if you were getting it right out of a giant fermentation tank.
Wow. That's cool.
It is very cool, actually. And if we had video, I could show you a picture of what it looks like.
Right. You keep bringing that up. So you've been in a key role as a franchisor for a while, and we knew you in a former life when you worked with Elements Massage. This is a little bit different path. Mm-hmm. What attracted you to Growler USA? And do you personally dabble in craft brewing?
The interesting thing about it, I have never brewed my own beer. And I was a pretty, run-of-the-mill beer drinker when it comes to the brands that I would typically drink. I have changed my ways, let me put it that way. And I've learned so much about it. It started with me being introduced to the former acting president, Dave Shaw, who's one of the founding partners through a mutual friend. So we started to talk about it. And I had kind of gotten to a point where, one, the concept was great. The craft beer industry was exciting. The founders and our franchisees were such genuine, honest, high-character people. I was really looking forward to that. So it doesn't hurt that I'm around beer all day, but I will tell you it really was the people that really sold it.
So how many locations do you have, and how many states are you in?
So with the ones that are currently under construction, we'll be at 31 locations in 19 states, including Hawaii, which was an early one, which is strange.
Yeah, how do you get out there? That's a big jump. Did it start in Colorado, where you are?
It started in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
And the first concept, and we've gone through a little bit of iteration, and if you don't mind, I'll kind of walk you through the steps.
Sure, that's perfect.
The first concept was a true growler filling station. It was a very small footprint. I don't even believe it served food. It's not in existence anymore. One of the other founding partners, Steve Hurt, was on vacation with his wife in Eugene, Oregon, went into it, got very interested in the possibilities behind takeout beer and where that was going, and bought the concept. We morphed it originally a little bit to add a limited kitchen that's not the full kitchen that we have now. So we've got about 2 or 3 iterations on kitchen equipment and menu capability delivery to what we have now, which is what you would see in a full-scale restaurant.
What is the profile of the franchisee? What do you consider a good fit when you're looking for franchise owners?
So our profile really kind of falls into 2 categories. The early adopters, which would be no surprise, and we have a number of them, and they're all amazing people, and the level of knowledge they have in craft beer always strikes me. They were the ones that came in because they had a true passion for it. They had been home brewing for decades in some cases, and just wanted to tap into that because they could live that passion every day. Now, we still have a number of those, and we still have people coming into the system that fit that profile. But as a brand naturally grows, you're going to get the entrepreneurial play. You're getting people that are investing as partnerships, bringing in outside investment money, and treating it more like an operational business which of course passionate beer drinkers do as well, but they're coming at more from a business angle out of the gate. So we're pretty mixed at the moment. In regards to what I think makes a good franchisee, I'll kind of talk in generalities because I think this spans across any concept, to be honest with you. Someone that's coming into the franchise world is obviously driven. They want to control their own destiny, and almost exclusively, with rare exceptions, they've excelled in some professional arena. When I talk to people during the discovery process, I tell them all the same thing. I said, the best franchisees are the ones that are able to somewhat check their egos at the door. Just because I was great at IT does not necessarily mean I'm great in hospitality. And that's okay. So my best advice to everyone is be very honest with yourself, know where your limitations are, and hire and train appropriately to fill those gaps. And don't assume that you can fill those yourselves just because you've done something else really well. I will share that with anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment because I've worked with a lot of hospitality-like businesses in my career, and I've had car dealers that have bought restaurants and bar restaurants, and the only thing that they knew about the bar restaurant business is they've ate and drank in them.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily make them, it's not an easy business because it's tremendously competitive and customer experience is important. There's just a lot that goes into that industry compared to, we've talked to several different franchise type businesses on this podcast. And this one's a little more unique, I think, of a skill set to be able to run a good operation.
Is there any type of training involved? Do you have to be certified?
I 100% agree with you, Dan. And it's interesting, when I had a very strong initial background in hospitality and restaurants specifically. So the operations that we do at Growler USA would be somewhat simple coming out of that arena. However, if you had never done it, even though this is a simple model, it's brand new. There's a learning curve and it's complicated. So what we try to do is prepare people the best that we can. Once they're in the system and sign the franchise agreement, we do basically a university setup, which is about a week. And then we'll go through all more of the nuts and bolts, the software systems, the real estate process, the construction process, some of the more blocking and tackling. Then it becomes more hands-on as they get closer to the actual opening. We've got a 3-week training schedule set up, which focuses on really running it as an owner or general manager. 1 week where it would be a back of the house or a kitchen focus. And then of the last week, depending on the skill set of the person coming in, which would wrap it all up. And during all of those, there's testing that's involved. Even beyond that, once they're at the opening phase, and we do biweekly calls with them all the way up until the actual opening, and then we send the opening team out, which one person would focus on the back of the house or the kitchen, another person would focus on the front of the house and the servers and the bartenders, or beer tenders as we call them, and then they actually go live with them in person, and then we get back within 30 days. The only outside certification that you might consider would be a Cicero certification. So you go through the training and then you take the test, and it's an outside certification to be a certified Cicero beer tender.
Now, do all the employees have to go through
All
that?
the employees.
Wow.
How are the products selected in each market?
At the very beginning, it was 100. They're all 100 taps. Almost every single one of those would be a regional craft beer. Some exceptions you'll see kind of cross the country. For instance, I see Lagunitas almost exclusively across the country, but the owners try to stay within their community as much as possible. And the good news is, with so many craft breweries popping up, you can really stay local to a large degree. Now, we are starting to offer some other limited beverages, including in some locations full alcohol, and that's a state law as well. So for instance, Texas, you can either do to-go beer or serve liquor, but you can't do both. So those are some oddities that are out there. But we're allowing that freedom because we want to reach more people to come in and experience what we are as Growler USA, which is not only great craft beer, but an incredible food menu as well. So I like to think of it as eliminating the veto vote. That's how I think about it. Is don't give anybody a reason to say no to coming to you.
Sure.
And the key to this is, I like to think of it as, the fortress and the ships, right? Our fortress is always going to be craft beer, but now we're sending some ships out to see how else we can reach more and more consumers as we grow.
What type of real estate footprint do these operations take? I mean, what type of square footage are we looking at?
They vary, and a lot of it's dictated on the real estate climate that you're trying to operate in. On the low end, you would see things in the low 2,000s. On the high end, a 4,000 square foot footprint would be fairly large for us.
Okay.
John, how does a local brewer get in touch with you?
Or as a franchisee, how do you find the breweries if you got to find 100 of them?
It's not hard at all. And people getting into the business, we encourage them to go out and almost do a market study right away, even before they're under construction. What the good and bad things that have kind of occurred is a lot of the craft brewers try to distribute their own product for a period of time, and it just didn't work. It wasn't economically feasible for them to have delivery routes, things of that nature. So almost all of them are distributed through another distribution company, alcohol distribution company. So any given city, like for instance here in Colorado, there's 3 to 4 major ones. There's some other smaller ones. So with 6 or less major distributors, you're going to get all the breweries. They're going to know who they are. And then you can get in touch with them, and they're incredibly supportive of our concept, mainly because of the attention to detail that we put into the delivery system and our focus on U.S.-made craft beer. There's no shortage of communication and outreach on both sides.
Does it change margins, though, if I got to buy it through a distributor versus finding the brewer himself? I would think that you could be more profitable if you were dealing direct with a brewer.
Assuming they could deliver it to you in an economical fashion, because that'll be built into the cost as well.
Yeah.
Still, you have 100 different products. How do you stay true to the brew? What type of quality control do you have in place?
I am going to send you 2 photos. I'll send you the growler, and I'm going to send you our keg room, and you'll see all the equipment that's in there. So I'm actually looking at our wall right now, and there's about 2 to 3 taps that don't have a handle on them. That most likely means that they blew yesterday. So you could come in, and next week you would see a completely different selection. We'll move it around when it comes to winter versus summer. A lot of times we'll do pairings. We did a Halloween candy one that people loved. I know that our owners in Omaha really knock it out of the park, pairing it with Girl Scout cookies and have the troops sell out of their pub, which is fun. But we're constantly rotating, so there is no issue. And the main part about it is every single one of our lines has its own meter, and there's a specific setting from a pressurization standpoint that you have to set it on, and different gases are required sometimes for different beers, and we're set up for all of that.
And it's supposed to be exactly like the brewer intends it to be.
Correct.
So you do have connection, even if you're getting it through a distributor, there's either instructions or there's some contact with the actual brewers of the beer.
Correct.
Yeah, I think I saw a video on your website where the brewers were talking about they were really happy about the experience that was happening at your bar and restaurant because that trademark is there. It's true to the brew.
Absolutely, and we bring them in as much as we can. I would say, without exception, and our location here next to our offices being one of them, they will do a pint night every single week, usually on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And what that would mean is a specific local brewery will come in, usually the brewmaster, and host a pint night, giving away paraphernalia, talking about the brewery, doing samples. You can imagine how many different breweries come through here.
It's close to lunch. This is a dangerous question. What about the food selections? Now you're going to make me hungry, but how are they determined? What recipes do they come from? Is that up to the franchisor or all that kind of stuff?
You're teeing it up perfectly for me, Dan, because your timing couldn't be better on this. As I mentioned, originally the concept was very limited food offerings. And as it's grown, now it's become full service. The food, when I started, I will tell you, was surprisingly good. And it wouldn't be what you would expect when you're thinking, brew pub, because you're typically thinking a little lower quality. It was very good at the time, but we wanted to make it even better. We subscribe to a belief that we're delivering inspired pub fare. So it's things that you would recognize, but elevated to a degree you wouldn't expect. We just completed a 9-month transition process, with the first 6 months being, let's dig into our menu, let's figure out what people want. Then we do market surveys as to what's trending, things of that nature. We tested them all in various pubs across the country. We are just now launching this brand new menu, and we're changing the tagline of the company itself to make sure they're not confused by it. We have always been Growler USA, America's micro brew pub. That caused some confusion on a number of levels. One of them being, do you even offer food? So we are just announcing, as we speak, Growler USA kitchen and tap house. So we're leading with the food. That confusion gets eliminated, and more people will be able to experience our fortress again of the craft beer. So to answer your question more pointedly, everybody has to be on the same menu, but we do allow a limited side menu for local favorites, because regionally some dishes really excel, and we didn't want to limit the owners to be able to still offer those.
I love that. I love kitchens. That's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the things I really love about local craft breweries is they really get involved in the community. They get involved in fundraisers and local events. They sponsor things. Do the pubs get involved in that way too? And how do they determine what to get involved in when the franchisees are working with so many different breweries?
Right. So when I think about the really successful locations, the common thread to all of them is they are part of the community in a very, very ingrained way. There'll be local events every night, whether it be something as simple as a book club to, for instance, our location in Tucson, which has the local Corvette Club every Saturday. Now, when it comes to the breweries, it's typically the reverse. The pubs are very involved in the community, and we typically leverage the breweries to help support those endeavors, which they're always more than willing to do with product donations and giveaways and support and seminars. So as opposed to us trying to work with the breweries on their endeavors, it's actually the reverse for the most part.
So how much is the franchisor, are you guys involved corporately with the decision-making process with the franchisee, and what kinds of things to support?
When it comes to local engagement, we don't interfere with that at all. Unless something pops up that seems a little bit off for us from a brand, maybe image standpoint, but honestly, I haven't run into that yet.
Cool.
Boy, that's really going to give you the feeling that you really are
in a local place, right?
and running your business yourself.
And on the one hand, we want to promote ourselves as a brand, of course, but we want every location to be a community gathering point. So that's always a kind of a hard line. How do you promote a brand that's going nationwide with making sure that the owners feel like they've got the ability to really be local?
So if I was thinking of being a franchise owner of a Growler USA, what kind of investment would I be looking at?
The biggest factor that you're going to see is real estate costs, obviously.
Right.
And how big your physical plant is or your location. The range right now is anywhere between 600 and 900, which would get you all the way through all your professional fees, architectural, construction, opening, through all of that. I will tell you, and this is not kind of really on topic, but I think it's important for us to keep in mind. I will tell you one of the limiting factors that is out there right now for not only for us, but for a lot of people is heavily increased minimum wage costs across the country.
Sure.
It's becoming very difficult.
I can imagine. Wow. You know, we live here in Milwaukee, the city that made beer famous. Any possibility that we're going to see a Growler USA here?
You know, we do not have a current license holder in Wisconsin at this point in time, but we are welcoming.
Yeah. One of the things in our state, the issue is getting liquor licenses because there's so many. I mean, I think we're like 1 or 2 in per capita liquor licenses in the United States.
Yeah, on the south side, there's a bar in every corner.
Right. Do you help with that process, or is that something, you can't really open a new bar unless you buy somebody else out in a lot of cases?
Well, so that, again, is a state-dependent issue. We do have access, and we can refer attorney firms that specifically deal with this. For instance, let's say, again, I'll talk about Colorado. It's not hard to get a liquor license in Colorado, and they will grant new ones without exception. Now, other states, New Mexico being one of them, they're similar to, let's say, a Pennsylvania, where they don't offer new ones, and you basically need to buy them on the open market, and they can be very expensive.
Hey, this is and if we don't want to talk about this, we can edit it out, but I just been noticing that a lot of the major beer manufacturers are getting into a cannabis-related drink of some sort, or they're researching that. Would that fit within your profile of if those things start coming out in states where it's legal?
Correct. So there are a couple of locations that have put out some hemp-based product, and there's another form of that I can't recall the name off the top of my head. I will tell you that we, for a brief time, tested the hemp-based one from Breckenridge Brewery, I believe, here locally, and the one in Portland, no surprise, went with the other extract. I can't remember the name of it, but it doesn't have the same narcotic effect as THC does. In all honesty, they haven't really caught yet, but they do fit within the brand as long as it fits within the category of having the non-effects of THC.
So, John, what is the best way to connect with you or follow Growler USA?
A variety of ways, and I don't mind any of my information being shared.
Great.
I can provide my LinkedIn connection if that is something you can put up.
Yes.
I can provide both our company Facebook and Twitter. You can call me at the corporate office number, and you can email me, and you're welcome to do that as well, which is just john.kutac, Kutac, @growlerusa.com.
I just love the whole concept of Growler USA. It's really cool.
And we'll put all those links to you in our show notes as well.
That's fantastic, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on and all the kind words.
It was great to have you on, John. Thank you.
Good to talk to you guys again.
So if anyone has any comments about today's show or any questions for us, please feel free to reach out to Dan and me on our LinkedIn pages. And as you know, your support helps us grow, so we'd love you to take a minute to share, review, and subscribe to Brandstorm.
This is Dan Trzynski along with Nancy Christopher at Platypus Advertising and Design, an awesome company that creates perceptions that influence choice. We hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Brandstorm.